I'm Bishop Julius Moloi. Born bred in Kwakwa, but I was baked and buttered in Klerksdorp. And I think I want to be toasted in Johannesburg. We'll see.
Betrayal Chronicles. Journey into the dark side of trust.
I grew up in church. I grew up as a church boy. My mom was, that strict. We were churchified, from the time I could wake up and say, Dada, I was already a church person. But then I got born again in 1993. That's when I took it upon myself to receive the Lord Jesus Christ, not just be a person that goes to church there. I used to preach in school, Everybody that went with me to school will tell you, this one has always been that mfundis, in class I'm preaching at the assembly. When it got to high school, it was worse, I preached everywhere. So my choices were very obvious. When I finished school, apart from the business that I was doing, I was also studying. I remember one of my teachers, because I passed very well in school. So my teachers were standing there asking, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be a pastor. They're like, what? A pastor, just a mere pastor. And you are so smart. I said, I didn't know that pastors had to be dumb, So then I went, did Bible school, got all the qualifications, got ordained as a bishop later on in the life. Now you are in this platform, you are this bishop, you are this person that people look up to you. I was on a television show called I'm a Bishop, but before that it was called Abafundisi, But then, you have your real story. You have the person that is off camera, the person that is not on stage, the person that is not on the mic or on the pulpit, I had my first child. I think I was 25 or so, if I remember. It was 2007, so I don't remember how old I was at that time, but around that time. And things did not work out between me and that lady. But anyway, it wasn't something that was out of wedlock. My parents went, we paid lobola and stuff. Sometimes things just don't work out. You are a young pastor, she's a young girl. You think you want, this is what you want, but you realize that's not what you want. And our relationship fell through. The child was 1 year and everybody went his way, and life goes on. And then Darantassen, they will say in Afrikaans Darantassen, there in the middle of all of that, met this other lady, prayer warrior, loving God, singing. Your typical pastor's wife candidate, those sisters that will just be a mamuroti in the making. You see this one, you think, okay, this one is, because Angetmanje, you are suffering from the pain of this one that you did not make it. So you think, okay, let me take a woman of the church. Yeah, you get married. We got married. We were blessed with one beautiful boy, and stayed together for about 6 years. And in 6 years' time, things start happening. You start disagreeing on things. You start fighting about things. There's a lot that happens. You still, because a person that has never had money and a person that has money are two different people, even if it's the same person. Anyway, when that exposure came, you just get out of line. And to some degree, me and my wife just had differences. We disagreed and we divorced. There is a challenge when you come from poverty, and then out of that poverty, all of a sudden you are exposed to life. You're exposed to attention. Here you are now. You are grown up. You've got your own apartment. You're living on your own. Life is nice. I think by then the city called Velocity was still, I was driving the Velocity 1.6, a black one. So it was still, the car of the girls. So, and as much as you are born again, you're still a young man at heart. You're 22, you're 25. I think by then I was around 26, if I'm not mistaken. now you are on fashion, you are on high demand, what trend, you know. So the girls will come, the sisters in church, oh, those people are dangerous, you know. They will show signs, and by as go to this mamfundisi here, but they just don't care. You know, they will show you signs, they will do this, they will talk to you, and now as a person you get tempted, you know. You would fool around with these girls. Sometimes you will say to her, no, wait for me, I'll call you. It's a real thing. It's a challenge that happens to you as a human being. And I think that young pastors need to accept that that's just real. Not that do it, but handle it. Don't make it as if it's a Satan thing, it's a demonic thing. Just accept that women will throw themselves at you because you are trending. And you are in charge, you've got this big church, and, you know, things will just happen. So, as a person, you know, you would fool around with girls. Mamfundis will find calls on your phone. Some calls you don't take them in the house. You go outside to take these calls because there is your spiritual self and there's your natural self. And obviously, one way or another, they will catch you out. So you get caught out, you know, and obviously there's a big fight in the house, the Mamfundisi, the church, the church committee gets involved, and now it's a storm, you know. Luckily, through that period, nobody got pregnant, you know. Responsibility always helps. So, but, you know, the whole storm of you just, I think it's a self-discovery journey. There's nothing as dangerous as getting money and power and you don't know who you are. You don't know yourself. You will just become anything that money and power tells you to become. So because of that, that whole life of, you know, fun, going up and down, chasing after girls chasing after you, you end up, the marriage doesn't survive, you know. And Umamfundi is naye on the other side, she will do her own things because vela umnagim, you don't care about her. So she will start doing things naye on her side. At the ultimate end, the marriage is gone. And then so I got divorced. I think we separated in 2011, and then the divorce was finalized in 2013. Yes. But, you know, the church people, they will come and cry and do things that were just irritating to me. Because at the ultimate end, you are divorcing. You're not going to live together. Why are people now filling your house and they are singing songs? Labo Mama Lava, they will come and just do a lot of theatrics that are so unnecessary. But anyway, I think that was their way of trying to save the marriage. But at the ultimate end, I moved out, stayed with another girl. You know, one of the ladies or sisters at the church. I felt at that time that I'm more at home with her. I'm more comfortable with her. So rented another place, a house. We stayed there together. And the marriage is not over. We're still in separation. But I moved out of the house, you know, of my main house into another house. And now there's judgment, because automatically when you divorce, the church splits into two. There are those who will be on Mamfundis' side, there'll be those who are on your side. And because of my character, now I'm a very strong person, I'm confrontational, I just don't take nonsense. So a lot of people then felt that Mamfundis is a bit softer, it's more accommodative, she's a woman, she's vulnerable, and then when they come to cry and pray, she will give them the space. I never give them the space to come and do those theatrics in my space. So then, you know, then most of the church people went for her. I was left with a few guys that said, but the church closed anyway. You know, I closed the church. I moved out, and that was that. We moved out of that space, And then I stayed on my own. I stayed with this young lady. Basically, I was the owner of the church. And people just started deciding that, there will be people that say you are doing adultery. And then there will be people that says divorce is not biblical. So there will be, actually there were three groups. The group that side with me. There's a group that side with Mamfundis. There's a group that is too righteous or too holy to be involved in all of this. So they will find another church. And now you go on Sunday at church, you find about 6 people there, You try to keep going with them, but it's irritating because you know that whether you drive in or out, people look at you funny. There were newspaper articles that were written about me. Social media was a buzz. People were just busy with my name. So, and I felt betrayed. I felt, these people, you were with them for years, falling and rising with them, giving them money, doing everything, buying them groceries, and then they are the ones that are screaming, crucify him. So just one day, I just took the keys, went to the church, packed up the sound, packed up the chairs, locked the gates, and I left. And the funny part is that up to today, nobody called me and asked, hey, Mfundisi, why is the church closed? Or what's happening? Nothing, nobody. People just don't care. They will wait for you when you are right again. Then they will come. So that somewhere there, then again met this young lady, or the one that I stayed with. The people of the church also came and took her away. They sat with her, convinced her that she's the reason why me and Mamuruti are not together, so they have to take her away somewhere. They took her to another church just far away, and they convinced her that what she was doing with me was a sin, and therefore she must get out. If she gets out, maybe me and Mamfundis will come back together, which was just nonsense. We never came back together up to today. And then they went and sent her off. She got married to another guy, end of story. My ex-wife also got married to another guy. That was it. And also I found another sister who was also in my church previously, but she left before the whole saga. So when she came back, we met, and then that's how the relationship started. And then, so now I married her now. That's my second marriage now. Second marriage, things are fine. I'm relaxed. I'm happy. And we were blessed with 2 beautiful children, beautiful boys. So now I've got 4 boys now. And I enjoyed marriage life from the beginning of my relationship with Matato Hatsi. All the things I used to do, all the things that I used to, be known to be bad about, I never did. We were just happy. We were having fun. Now got blessed. We built a house, and life was good until she tragically passed away through COVID in 2021, and it was one of the saddest moments in my life. But again, with my marriage to her, we started a church from scratch, totally different area. I now had the energy. I had the motivation, the strength to go and start a church from scratch again. So we started, the 2 of us, we would build a tent together, because, I don't know, she just had a different mindset in terms of how she sees me. I missed all of the controversy. I missed all of the drama. I missed all of the things. People, it's like 100 people called her and say, hey, that guy is bad news. Don't marry him. Hey, you're going to get hurt. You're going to cry. What. Everything. She showed me SMSs, WhatsApps. Her family called her, counseled her to say, no, don't marry that guy. He's a bad person. What. But she said, you know what, I'm going to marry you anyway. I'm going to live with you. And she says to me, I'm glad that before I even get to be involved with you, I'm already having all of the negative stories. So it helps me to prepare, But the long and the short of it is that we stayed beautiful 7 years together. And then she unfortunately passed on, and still the same. When my wife passed away, it was again stories. Yeah, you killed your wife for power, and it was just nonsense. People started rumors, and the church was sitting and having meetings and talking and doing all of these things. Again, for the second time, I closed down the church. I felt like if people don't need you, why are you wasting your energy and your time? I'm not that person who needs to have a church to be a pastor. No, I've got many churches that I'm overseeing. I've got spiritual sons and daughters who have their own churches, and they come to me for counseling, for advice, and all of that, and I'm happy. So I closed down that church, and I'm having my smaller Yana church somewhere with very exclusive church. I don't go and invite people. I don't go do crusades and wanting hundreds of people. No, it's very exclusive. It's a few people that I personally select, and I know that there's a lot of people who want to be in my church, but I don't allow people in. It's right of admission reserved, because but I heard abazalwane, they will ground you into powder, and I've learned that the hard way. So at the ultimate end, whether marriage or not, whether what happens in my life, it means people there were pastors that were in my church that I would pay salaries from my own pocket, not from the church's money. I've never been that pastor who takes a lot of money from the church or takes the offering. I've never been in that space. But there will be pastors who will come to my church. They are hungry, they are struggling, they have families and all of that, and I will feed them and I will bless them and I'll give them money. I will ordain them, help them to have the proper credentials and acknowledgement as leaders of churches. But then they are the first ones to turn against you. They are the first ones to attack you on social media. They were the first ones to pay people to go on radio, social media platforms and talk about me and insult me and all of that. But it's not a sob story for me. It's a story of growth. You grow in wisdom. You get to know people. That's why even now when somebody approaches me, I give them an arm's length. I say, how are you and stuff. Because sometimes as you grow up as a pastor, you become so, to some degree, gullible. You become so naive that you think everybody's nice and they're coming in peace to you. But I found out in my 20 years in ministry that it's not always, actually 95% of the time, people are not nice. People are just there to take from you. And when you need them the most, they will never be there for you. When I buried my wife, people had their own things to do. They were running up and down, going up and there, and I had to bury my wife on my own. Yet you are having people in your church. So that is why my whole perspective about church is not like the same with everybody. I don't get excited to have a big church. I don't get excited. I've got a big building. I've got equipment, everything. The chairs in my new church that I built are cinema style chairs. I've invested more than R1 million in the ministry the second time. But people just don't care. If they hate you, they hate you. If somebody wants to write on Twitter to say, I remember there's someone who wrote on Twitter and put my picture and said, this guy is the devil himself. Someone will just get out of their way and do that. And you are a human being. People, they detach you from being a human being. They think that you are a pastor, therefore you should be able to take it. And now I'm married again now for the third time. And obviously I can't stay without getting married. I will look weird. And also it's safer to just get married. You need umama wasekhaya to help with building your integrity. Not in terms of your image, no, your integrity. Someone must call you and say, where are you? So you need to have someone to think about whenever you are, wherever you may be. And my current wife, also now, she was also involved in a car accident, There's just this negative story after story after story, and it's irritating me. But I think that by God's grace, we are making it. She's recovering very well. And again, I'm very happy. I mean, we've spent a year together, and life is good. We are happy, we are making progress, and the Lord is on my side. And because of these things, this whole negative trail, I mean, the church has had beautiful, stories. Not always a bad story. I mean, there's a beautiful story, but there's this consistent, nerve of negativity that is going on. And for me to still believe in the church, to still believe in God, to still take the responsibility of being a bishop even today, is because I know the God that called me. You see, if you're not properly called, the times, circumstances, and dynamics of ministry will test you. And it's easy to just give up because you lose nothing. As a matter of fact, you gain a lot when you just give up. But I refuse to give up because the grace of the Lord is still upon me, and the God that called me. I did not have a role model in ministry. There was nobody that I wanted to be like. I was just called by God, and I did the work that God has called me to be. So I did not see someone who impressed me and I said, hey, I want to be like that guy, or no, I want to have money like that guy. No. That is why many times I was offered jobs to take over churches and be pastor at this church. And some big churches, some churches are full of white people, and they said, come and be our pastor. I refused. They promised me a lot of money because that was not my passion. My passion is not to be wealthy through ministry. It's just to enrich the kingdom of God. So that's how I remain steadfast even today. But what also helped me is that I have always refused to depend financially on the church. Do I regret the life that I've lived? No. I think I enjoyed it more than I have regretted. I could have been a nyaupe boy. Worse things could have happened. I could have just been a criminal. I could have turned out worse. But the Lord kept me consistently on His path. And for those little favors and graces that God has given me, I'm grateful. So therefore, if He took that kind of life to bring me to where I'm sitting right now, well, then I can say it's a blessed life. They always say every landing you can walk out away from is a good landing, no matter how rocky it might have been. And have I landed? Yes, I have landed. I'm Julius Moloi. I'm a TV presenter. I'm a business coach. I'm there. I'm doing that thing. Come hell or high water, I'm that man that looks back and says, Mama, I've made it. God bless her soul, because she passed away. But I always want to see my mom and say, hey, look at what you produced. All of the toughness, this is what it produced. And I believe that she'll be very proud. So my 21-year-old, I will say to him, it's going to be tough, boy, but just, bite the bullet and make it, because the end of the journey is a beautiful one. So I'm happy. I'm the happiest I could have been. I love my kids. I love my wife. I don't have anything that is heavy on my heart or resentment or contempt for anybody. I'm free. I'm happy, and I mean, by the look of things are happening for me. I mean, I'm good, and I think my advice to the young people out there, whether you are in ministry or outside of ministry, I want to say to you, believe in God with all of your heart. Have a relationship with God. Be a child of God. Forget about being Mzalwane. The Bazalwanes are witches. They will break your heart. They will destroy you. There are people who are sent into the church by the devil to discourage and kill people and make them lose their faith in God. So, am I a Christian? No. Am I a child of God? Yes. Christianity is just, it's bad. People made it very bad. Do I believe in Jesus Christ? Yes. But I don't subscribe to the tenets of the Christian faith as it is right now. It's nonsensical. And I think that Christianity has to be brought under full review. So my advice is to you, hold on to God, pray to God, believe in Jesus Christ. But Christianity, just look at what happens in that space, because my loyal.
Betrayal Chronicles. Journey into the dark side of trust.